My guest this week is Leigh Rowland, Mortgage and Protection Advisor at King Financial Services, and we're talking about his journey into mortgage broking. Welcome to the Mortgage Broker broadcast with me, Craig Skelton. Join me every week while we're developing your knowledge to help you build a successful mortgage broker business. So my guest this week is Leigh Rowland, mortgage broker at King Financial Services, and we're talking about why Leigh wanted to become a mortgage broker, how has he found this career change, and what his biggest challenge has been to date. So welcome to the podcast, Leigh. How are you?
Really good. Thank you, Craig. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. Thank you. Not as nice sort of background as what you've got there, and a nice sunny day in Wales by the looks of it.
It's a beautiful day here in Wales, Craig. But as you know, we just discussed it, the background wasn't supposed to be this. It's been the Welsh internet, which has led to this. So I am currently out in the garden, and fingers crossed, there's not too many dogs barking, neighbours chatting to me. We cross both our fingers.
It will be absolutely fine. It will be absolutely fine. So, yeah, we've got dogs barking, grass being cut, your little one coming in, a cameo appearance, shall we say? So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed will be okay. But like I said to you earlier, if there is any dog, there we go.
There you go.
I don't know if you can hear that. So I'm so sorry about the interruptions.
It adds to the authenticity with the dogs in the background. So it's absolutely fine.
Exactly.
Just first of all, just give everybody a sort of whistle-stop tour of your background before you become a mortgage broker.
All right. Well, name's Leigh Rowland, and I live in Cwmbran. I'm 44 years old, and so I've come into this sector quite late. But before that, when I was younger, I was with Bristol Rovers playing football, but wasn't good enough. They blew me out, which was fair enough. I wasn't actually good enough. Then I wanted to be a PE teacher. So then I went to university and done sports science. I tried teaching, right? But I didn't like teaching. Didn't like it. Didn't like shouting at young people. And that was back then. It's a lot different now. But you had to shout at young people. That wasn't my thing, to be honest. I like talking to them and understanding them. Didn't get on with that, really. So then I got a job then in London, in a health and fitness club opposite the House of Parliament. And that was the sales and marketing manager's job. London was a bit too busy for me, if I'm absolutely honest. So I came back to Cardiff then in the same role, sales and marketing manager. But I had done some voluntary work in the Cwmbran Centre for Young People, which is a local charity. I was in constant contact with them because I'd had enough of the sales and marketing. And there was a health and fitness coordinator's job, which came up there. And I jumped at the chance. Luckily then, they promoted me as a project manager then for like some bigger projects, European money, and that won an award. I ended up going to Malta to speak at the European Commission about that one, which was quite nice. Got promoted again then, and I developed like a social enterprise hub with 6 different social enterprises under one roof. Luckily again, I won some awards, and then I got promoted to the centre manager's job then, the overall manager of the charity itself. And we were lucky, we won some more awards, so it was quite successful, really. That took around 16 years, all those pieces of work. Yeah, it was a long time, but I was coming to the end of that, and always been I've always wanted to be self-employed. In between that, actually, I did run my dad's business. Unfortunately, my dad passed away 12 years ago, and he had his own business, and it was completely. He always wanted me to work with my head and on my hands. So he didn't want me to work in that business. He was a carpenter by trade, but he developed a van fitting business. Unfortunately, he had a sudden heart attack, and then I had compassionate leave from the centre. They were very kind. And I went down there, it was literally the day after, 2 days after, I think. And that's where I ended up staying there 18 months, believe it or not, just so people didn't lose their jobs. Because I could have just shut the shutters. But once I went in there, and then I met all the suppliers, met all the members of the team, and I just ended up staying there for 18 months. And then once all that progressed and I sorted all that out, that was all fine. And that's when I went back to the charity. Sorry. Anyway, want to be self-employed, always had that thing in me. I don't know, everybody seems to have got something in you where you want to be in charge of your own destiny. Do you know what I mean? You've got that determination that you've just got ideas which you need to put into place. And you want to know if they're right or not. And the guys, I play a lot of football, and two of the boys from football said, "Oh, look, Lee, if you ever want to be a mortgage broker, you'd be good at that." Obviously, because I know a lot of people, and as you can probably tell, I like to talk a little bit. So I took him up on the offer, and I done my CMAP, and then I just started putting myself out there a little bit. And then I sort of done my CMAP. I was doing mortgages, but I also done a bit of the administration job as well. And that was actually quite good. I know it sounds daft, but it was actually quite good to learn the processes behind what I was doing. And so I was doing that. Then the mortgages obviously got busier and busier. Unfortunately, then COVID came along. And at the first company I was with, they won't mind me saying it, they were very supportive. The boys are great, still get on with them now. But my wings were clipped a little bit with social media. You can see me, it's a podcast and stuff, isn't it? I got branding and stuff like that, which I was keen to get out there. And then I knew another guy from football called Mark King, and he had King Financial Services, and they did a lot of insurance products for sports people. Quite a lot of the national. Yeah, they do national organisations, but they do a lot of the professional rugby league and rugby union sides. So then I thought, right, that's a good option. And he said, "We haven't got a mortgage advisor, Lee. Would you like to come over?" And I said, "Well, the thing is, I've got these ideas in my head which I want to get out there in regards to myself and how I think I could bring something not different, because everyone's done it now. But I got these ideas I need to get out there." And they said, "Yeah, you can pretty much, as long as it's compliant, you can do what you want." So then I left the first company, all amicably, fantastic, thank you very much. And now I'm with King Financial Services as a mortgage and protection advisor. It's just important that people know where I've come from, so they can understand when I talk, maybe later on this podcast, or they see things on my social media, they know what the substance behind what I'm talking about. That's all.
No, I'm all for that. That's why I'm always keen to understand at the start of the podcast your background. I don't do too much research about. Obviously, I have a look, but I don't do too much research because I don't want to come into a podcast with people that I don't know with too many preconceived ideas. I'd rather have a very open conversation about you, your background. Obviously, the most important bit is, and the whole point of it is understanding why you became a broker and what in your life after seeing a mortgage broker. But it is always important to understand background, where people have come from, and really because there's just certain things I've sort of put in there with regards to, like, you've run your own business. I know, so it was unfortunate circumstances with your father's business, but you have run your own business, so to speak. So I think like that takes a certain challenge and a certain type of person to run your business, which helps you become a self-employed mortgage broker. I think that there's a few things in there.
I would like to have an admin. I'd probably like to have another broker which work with me, because at the minute I'm at capacity, literally at capacity. At the moment, I'm sort of at a crossroads. I've got an admin with King Financial Services, but it's more of a check-in admin. It's not as in it's not as in receiving the bank statements. Well, mind you, our systems are progressing now, aren't they? About a year and a half ago, you had to get all that, but now, because we've got technology moving on, thankfully. But you've got to see, people will disagree with this. I've seemed to find that if you can't work any smarter, you can't work any harder, you've got a ceiling limit on how much you can earn on your own if you're doing everything yourself. So what I'm thinking is, I had a conversation last week. So we had like a get together down in Bournemouth, and I need an admin, because at the minute I think I've got a 3-week waiting list just for an appointment. And luckily I've got good relationships with people just from initial phone calls, or they've seen my social media, so they are waiting. They're fine. If they're in an emergency, I have got somewhere I can help them with, and another broker. But at the minute, I'm desperate for an admin, and there is a process in place to get one. I could do it too, to be honest with you. It's the market around here at the minute is absolutely bonkers. People are buying houses without even looking at them, with straight asking price or above. First time buyers are struggling because they don't know, we can educate them as much as possible, but they're going in. If they get in there, they're already gone. So it's really busy around here at the minute. But my business is, luckily for me, it's gaining momentum. So
Where is that down to social media, do you think, or is it various reasons? Do you get leads from the business? How does that all sort of work?
social media, it's and referrals, obviously. But yeah, I do a lot on social media. I that was the reason why like I said to you earlier, I left the one company, because when we were in COVID, I sat there for about a day thinking, I was going to swear. Didn't swear, Craig. You happy with that?
Look,
I
I can
thought, oh
put the
dear.
beginning. I can talk at the beginning and sort of say that there were certain things that, yeah, don't
Oh
worry.
dear. Yeah. I thought, oh shit. This is a nightmare, because I didn't
It's
have
fine, don't
any.
worry.
I didn't have any returning, 2-year fixes coming in, and so I sat there and I thought, oh my goodness me, valuers can't value houses. What am I going to do? And I thought the only way, if I'm going to power through here, is to just go flat out on social media, and so that's what I done. Just created. I knew what I was doing, but I couldn't put words to it back then. I was creating a brand, which was myself, because I'm on my own at the minute. I am on my own, but I created a brand locally. Sounds a bit big-headed saying I created a brand, actually, but I suppose that's what it is. In order to get my message out there in the way I wanted to get it out there, and now I'm just lucky that I get the majority of my leads through social media, loads on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm developing that more than anything, but it's Instagram. I've got a TikTok now as well. Yeah, I love TikTok. I gotta be fair, not for business at the minute, because I'm not that good at it. I'm learning how to do it, but I do actually
Okay.
like the concept of TikTok. You can see things on there which you might not see anywhere else because of the constraints of everything else. But I do like going on there. Anyway, back to the question. Yeah, I've just generated it through social media and good reviews from my clients.
Okay. And is that something you just handle yourself? Do you get somebody helping guided you with your social media, or is it all your own work?
I've always understood social media. Even when we had the social enterprise hub, all my team had their own Twitter, for example, so we could share good practice and good news, even in that sector. So I knew that getting that message out there would attract more funding. Now, the thing I can do, which I give to, I work with a guy called Luke. He was with me at the charity, actually, and he's still working there, but in his, I say spare time, it's not his spare time anymore because I'm on him all the time, but he does all my branding, all my design. Say I got a review, I just ping it to him and then he puts it on a template. If I got, like, he's had loads of messages off me, like I go for a walk and at 5:30 in the morning, I'm sending him messages about ideas for social media stuff. And he's been, so I can't do that. I put my hands up. I can't do the graphics and everything, but I have the ideas and I'm in charge of exactly what it says. But say I got massive and Luke didn't want to come along with me, I would be happy to outsource that as long as I had the input and it still had what I wanted to say in it.
I see a lot of brokers in their head know what they want to do and know what they want to say because they're at the forefront of the questions from the clients. They understand the minds like that. And like I know I struggle with the creative side of things, and I know a lot of mortgage brokers. How do you actually put that into content? How would you create those? It takes a certain kind of person to fairly. I don't know with that in terms of you help you with the creative side of things. Just
Yeah.
you've got the ideas, then those kind of people bring those to life. I know quite a few people like that myself because, like I say, I'm the first to admit it. I'm not great at.
No, and I'm always been like, if I can't do something, it's something to do it better, and it's going to take them less time than I am and cost me less in my time, then they do it, don't they? It's as simple as that. There's no point spending hours and hours on something costing you, say, 50 quid an hour, with your own time. If someone can do it for 30 quid an hour, it's just not good business sense, is it? So simple as that. Just let them crack on.
It is about working smarter. It is about your hourly rate because then, like for me to do something that I pay somebody to do something that will cost, and then looking back, it'll take them 10 minutes where it take me could take me 10 hours. So it's just you might as well pay them for the 10 minutes or an hour, say, rather than wasting 10 hours of your own time. So
Exactly.
definitely. So let's just get into the obviously we've got an idea of who you are and a few snippets of your sort of your attitude and your mindset to mortgage broking and where you get your business from. But why did you want to become a broker? Obviously, your background is very different. Did you wake up one day and want to be a mortgage broker, or is it something you want to do for a long time?
About, say, what are we, 2021? I've always been a bit of a property geek, if I'm honest with you, Craig. Been a right nerd when it comes to property, and always enjoyed property. And I started investing in property in about 2013, I think. So we had to I was a landlord, invested a bit more then. And in Wales, you probably know this, you have to go Rent Smart Wales. So I was a landlord, but I was paying a management company, and in the end, I thought I just well manage these myself. I started managing them myself, and then I became a letting agent then as well. I was a qualified letting agent while I was still at the charity. So I've always had an interest in property, houses, and when they asked me to be a mortgage broker, what I was thinking was maybe the long-term plan is I can turn the letting agency and the brokerage into one thing. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, because I'm only two and a bit years into this. But yeah, so it's been I've been interested in property for ages. Like I said, I'm a landlord, a letting agent anyway. And then I thought, yeah, I really want to do that. Plus I could still help young-ish people with their first homes, which then links back to me. I suppose I quite like to help and support people. So I could then help first-time buyers get the keys to their new home, and I like that idea. And so yeah, it all tied in quite nicely. Being a bit of a nerd with property, being a letting agent, and want to help people. All of a sudden, you're a mortgage broker.
Property, I think, is a big thing to be a mortgage broker. You've got to be interested in houses, homes, buying, selling. You've got to be interested in that, because if you're not, the job of a mortgage broker is not transactional to a certain extent. And what I mean by that is, if you I've worked in a bank, I've been a mortgage advisor in a banking, and that was very transactional. You saw the client, somebody had done a bit of vetting for you, you saw the client, they brought the documents in, you submit the application, you moved on to the next one. You didn't really do any hand holding, so you wasn't really having too much of a house conversation like I would say now, home and stuff like that. Whereas then to be a mortgage broker, I think you've got to be interested in property, nosy. You've got to really take a keen interest on what the clients are looking for. Not bothered about property. It's not really it just helps with the role.
Yeah, I think I just think you say you got to be interested in property. You got to be interested in people. You got to be interested in people. They're the main. Yeah, I love working with people. Love finding out what makes them tick. I like finding out a bit about their lives, what's important to them. Not just because the insurance at the back end of it. I actually enjoy getting to know people, and finding out about their lives. I find people really interesting. And when you can help those people to get a house and then you can protect them, it's a brilliant feeling. So although, yeah, I am interested in property and I could talk you to death, which I probably am about property, I'm more interested in people because I'm interested in building relationships at all levels. Relationship management is what I'm pretty good at. And yeah, I really enjoy talking to people and doing a good job for them. So it's being interested in people, and then secondly, interested in the bricks and mortar.
And so what had this sort of big career change?
Have I found it? Initially, it was hard, Craig. It's hard, isn't it? Because you go self-employed, you haven't got a pipeline. You're trying to you're just trying to sat there with a system which you don't know how to use. People are using acronyms you've never even heard of. And then you're sat there in a bit of a whirlwind, really. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, dear, what is going on here? But bit by bit, you gain more knowledge, more confidence. But it was hard. I've talked to a few employed brokers who have come to me to say, what's it like being self-employed? And I've got a sheet. I've got a big sheet, and I wrote it down. I wrote everything down for them, not just the financial side, not just the risk, but the feelings you have as well. Because we got married in the same year as I went self-employed. You can imagine it was a bit of a stressful time.
Wow.
It was, yeah, it was a bit of a stressful year, that one, to be honest with you. Yeah, so we got married in the same year I went self-employed. I didn't say I was good at planning stuff. So yeah, back to the answer. It was hard to start with. But it was the financial bit was hard, but the role has always been enjoyable. As I said, meeting people and unraveling the complexities and making them easy, and then managing it through to the end. I've always found that enjoyable. And I suppose it's a bit of project management skills come in there because you've got to manage different things. But as I said, it was hard financially, but the role was always enjoyable. And you're learning. I'm still learning now, Craig. I mean, I've learned stuff off your podcast. I'm probably going to learn a couple of things from you just responding to my questions today. I've got a long way to go, but COVID obviously leveled the playing field a little bit, didn't it? Because everybody knew everybody's criteria. New mortgage brokers coming in, COVID's it. Everyone's got different criteria all over the place. And so it's leveled the playing field a little bit. But yeah, hard financially, enjoyable role, and just literally absolutely smashing the development in as best I possibly can, reading podcasts, listening to other brokers, just got to just on a literally fast tracking myself the best I possibly can, just being positive all the time with people. So yeah, it's been exciting, but it hasn't been easy, and I wouldn't pretend it has been.
Leigh, I absolutely love that last few minutes of what you've shared there. I absolutely love, and this is what I love about the podcast is that, as always, we start with various questions and things like that. But what I really like to do and what I enjoy, and it's something that there's loads of notes I've made there that I want to just open up a little bit and talk about, because this is why people listen to the podcast and the brokers do, who I think about becoming brokers, want to hear stories like from you because it's interesting you talk about it is hard and you enjoy doing the job. So you enjoy the role of being a mortgage broker, but you're in no doubt that it's been a tough learning for you. And I want to, at what month in, if you can remember, did you sort of sit, because it's something that right at the beginning you talked about with all the honesty that you've sort of poured out there, was that
Yeah.
you sort of sat there with this system and thinking, and it takes a certain kind of person, because a lot of people at that stage would be, do you know what, this isn't for me. This is just too much for me to take on right now. And I hear a lot about brokers that are in that situation. And funnily enough, I hear a lot of people that then just, which I feel is a real shame, is that they then leave the industry because they don't feel they're right for the industry. When actually that might not be right. It might be down to the help and the support they get. But going back to my point is, how did you feel at that time? You're sat there, new into mortgage broking, sat in front of the system thinking, I'm getting married sometime soon.
Yeah, I know.
Thinking, where's my income going to come from?
Yeah.
What was going on in your head?
Well, this completely and utterly stressed out, right? Absolutely stressed out. But I did in my first company, I did have a couple of guys who were experienced mortgage brokers, and they were good lads as well. So I could literally knock on their door all the time. So I mustn't forget that I did have support. I did have support there. In my mind, I was stressed out, but luckily for me, like I said, I'm 44. Over the years, I've been on so many different training courses, and I just before I come into this qualified as a mentor from the University of South Wales for mentoring sports people and sports clubs. And within that mentoring, there's a lot of stuff about I'll generalize it, thinking positively and how to overcome negativity. And although everything's stressful, there are ways of coping with it. And then it's just like I said to you right at the start, when you want to be self-employed or have your own business, in my opinion, there's just something inside you. There's something inside you which you can have all the skills in the world, but you're driven. You're just a driven person. And you know that if you just work as hard as you possibly can, then you've just got to go. Everything will be okay. And I had some really stressful chats with my wife about the wedding. Um, but I knew that I knew I had it in me to make it. I shouldn't say successful. I knew I had it in me to continue. But what I would suggest is, if someone is thinking of giving up, is to ask for support. So everyone should be able to ask for support in any role, in any role, any industry, any sector. If they're struggling, look at a support system and talk about it. Because if you are talented and you feel like giving up, we've all felt like giving up. If you're talented and you've got it in you, you can make it a success, 100%. But just always talk to somebody. Luckily, I have got good friends as well and good family, and I was really lucky there as well. But it never come to the point where I said I'm not doing this. I was all like, right, there's another hurdle, bang, let's go over that. There's another one, let's go. And I just kept trying my best. What's the saying? Always be better today than you were yesterday. Just try and keep on improving yourself. That's it, really. That's what I did.
It is. It's about those small gains. It's about, like,
Yeah.
I've looked a lot about the 1% and things like that, and that sort of. You sort of said understanding family. You must have got very well at the time, understanding future wife, but at the time, I'm guessing now wife. She
Yeah.
must be very understanding.
Yeah, I don't know if she'll listen to this because she gets embarrassed when I do like podcasts. I was on the radio last week and she was like, "Oh, yeah, I've got a beautiful wife. She's amazing." So I've been very lucky with a supportive family. Been very lucky indeed, Craig. Yeah.
To be fair, Leigh, you sort of are wearing your heart in your sleeve with things that I talk about when I'm looking at when I get approached by new like brokers or people that are looking to get into mortgage broking. And I do have quite a few conversations, and one of the things I talk about is having the support of your family behind you, because I think it's important to have. Because
Yeah.
talk about timing, like, so there's other things in there, because I talk about timing a lot as well. So it has to be right timing for you. You've just blown that out of the water, because getting married and then going self-employed, I'm not quite sure I'm with you on the timing. However, that's testament to you of how you've come out the other side. So great, you've got the support of your wife behind you, absolutely, because that is so vital to becoming not only changing your career, but also as well going from employed to self-employed. So that's a big thing that you've got to have the support there. We won't talk about timing because it's about having the right timing. Absolutely. But the thing is, what I love about this is, like, yes, this is a podcast, but I always record podcasts face to face like this, because then I can see the smile on your face. I can see the reactions on your face when you're talking about things, and that, which unfortunately, like, the listeners can't, but I can see the sort of smile on your face and you laughing about, because you've come out the other side, and that's testament to you, Leigh. You've come out the other side of this smiling, laughing, and you can look back on that now and think, "Oh my God!" Like, and I might be wrong, but I'm guessing that you're the kind of person that, and it wouldn't go wrong. And I know you would make sure that it goes right. But I think if it didn't go to plan and it didn't go according to the way that you wanted to, and then you're looking back on reflection, you would still be smiling about your learning and your development. Am I right with that? Or am I totally off piece with that?
What if being a mortgage broker went completely pear shaped?
Yeah. How would you feel?
How would I feel? Well, that's a hell of a question. Nice one, Craig. I see what you've done there. I'd like to give you a cheesy line and say, "Oh, you win or learn," don't you? But I put so much into this, it would take hell of a pick me up. I'd have to dig deep to get out of that, because I put everything into this. I don't know, Craig. Is the honest answer. I can't sit here and lie to you. But I tell you what was difficult. Just one quick one, which I won't go on because I know you probably stuck for time. It was being it wasn't just that, it was being myself, right? It was being myself rather than what I perceived the industry wanted people to be as mortgage brokers. That's the most thing. That was the hardest thing, not the money, not the wedding or anything like that. It was, I was rocking up to work, and I just wasn't myself. I was just like, oh, this is probably what they perceive me to be, blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't, you wouldn't have spoke to me like this about 2 years ago, Craig. I would have been, oh yeah, hello, my name's Lee and I'm a mortgage broker. Oh, wouldn't have, but once I learned that I could be myself with my own personality, which people might not like after this actually, but and I could say, as long as I was confident and compliant, what I could say and be myself, that's when I started to flourish. Really, I started to understand the industry a bit more. And I think it's evolved since COVID anyway, especially with LinkedIn and the things that's going on LinkedIn with mortgage brokers. I always thought that educating my clients and doing a few videos and stuff would help them. But I didn't really want to be someone with a 3-piece suit and a briefcase. Sorry to those guys, that's great what you do, but that wasn't for me. And now I can be myself. So that was the hardest bit, was going from what perception was of my perception to then being myself, which that was the hardest bit. Nothing to do with the money, actually. It was being myself.
Okay. But it is good that you've recognized that and seen that as, and really for you, Lee, you've seen that as a potential, the same thing as you saw in the potential from a point of view of, you're not the first mortgage broker, new mortgage broker. I know you're not new, but like you've been, it is sort of fairly sort of new into it when, like you said, COVID leveled the playing field. Absolutely did. And you saw that as an opportunity of, it did. Like even the most experienced mortgage brokers, and I know people that have been doing this for a long time, and it just leveled the playing field for everybody. And you saw that as an opportunity because the lender's criteria and things were changing day in, day out. So that just gives you and gives people a snippet of your mindset and the way that you are, because you did see that as an opportunity, definitely. And I think that's sort of the way that you're coming across, is that you saw that such as a positive thing, that you knew into this fella, and you've got COVID and the world's changing, and the day-to-day life of a mortgage broker was very tough at that time. It's still tough now, and it always will be, but learning the criteria, placing cases, and something that they know they want to be experts in, it just field overnight because the lenders just changed everything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you were probably the same as me. We were getting like 4 or 5 emails every morning, weren't we? With this has changed, this has changed, this has changed. And then, but yeah, I did realize, as you said, quite quickly that the playing field was leveled, and I just thought social media is the way to go here.
So just in terms of, like, for me, Lee, I've really enjoyed getting to know you a bit more, and I think the listeners as well on the podcast will get to know you a bit more about who you are, because it's great. I don't think we've got enough time to get the real layout in and true, and spend a day in the life of Lee and just like where you're at with everything and how you deal with everything. But I think that what's coming across loud and clear is, like, you believe in you believe in your personality, because that's what people buy into, and you have created your own brand around that. You've sort of looked at what the preconceived ideas about the role and about who a mortgage broker and what a mortgage broker looks like, and you've sort of smashed that out and created your own thing with that. So, which is really good, and you're just a genuine, honest guy that's sort of looking at the opportunities within mortgage broking and sort of seeing this as a real sort of long-term career change for you, and making the most of it. So I think it all sounds, there's been a few snippets in there about what the hardship and stuff like that, but what's the one thing you would say that's been the biggest challenge for you, or the challenges, if you want?
So, well, I had it yesterday. It still affects me now. When you get a decline,
Right.
and you've tried everything, like literally, you've tried absolutely everything, right? So I can't mention it's just having a decline, because it's not because it's because of the conversation you then have to have with the client. Obviously, I then put a plan in place for them for the future to then come back to me. Oh, I had one yesterday, Craig. I was absolutely devastated. They took them 4 weeks to sort this case out as well. So the client's hanging on for 4 weeks. They were first time buyers. They wanted to buy a house off their brother. The whole family was involved, and it was the last lender because of some adverse credit, and they just turned around and said no. And I was just sat there, and that sinking, or that horrible sinking feeling.
Mhm.
And that for me, I'm still getting that now. And if I know it's brokers who do thousands of mortgages a year, maybe don't get it anymore, but I do, and that's the biggest challenge is telling the client it's declined and that's the only lender left. I don't know. Even if you know you've done everything, it's still horrible. So that's the that's not the part. That's the challenge for me. But the other challenge is what, like I said earlier, just becoming myself was the hardest bit, because I thought there was preconceived things about being a mortgage broker.
I appreciate your honesty. I think that's it, because you're building up such a positive thing, and you're such a positive guy, and customers, you're building up your reputation and your brand.
Yeah.
People are coming to you, and you're sort of, this is great. You're getting your own clients, and they're buying, like I said, buying into you. And then to turn around and say, through the whole process, I'm really sorry, I can't help you. I think that's painful for a lot of brokers. A lot of mortgage brokers I know will feel that pain. There is ones that don't, and they detach themselves from that sort of personality and really that the empathy with the client. But for you, you take that personally, which is great, because that's the way it should be, Leigh. That's why you're building what you are and what you're doing, because you do take things like that personally, and it's hard sometimes. And you've got to
Thanks,
have those
Craig.
conversations with clients. You have to. It's like the same as the protection ones and things like that. When you
I was
talk
just gonna,
yeah, those ones.
yeah, I was just gonna mention protection actually. But yeah, I mean, what I take it personally. I don't know if this will come over right. I take it personally when clients don't have protection, not because of the commission, because they're not protected. And I'm sat there thinking, oh no, I'm just like, listen, you've got children, you've got a mortgage, and then they turn around and say no, and then I'm sat there and thinking, oh no, right, okay, trying to give another alternative. I don't get many no's, Craig, to be honest with you. But when I can name them probably, I've had that little. But when they say no, that affects me as well, because I'm worried that they're not protected, because I know how important protecting yourself and your family are, and that goes round in my mind for a few days afterwards. It's strange how invested you get in people sometimes, but I think that's the way. I've got so many good reviews and I've had so many good relationships. The clients will keep coming back all the time. Yeah, but sometimes with protection, that sort of gets me a bit when they don't have protection. And I know the commission's good in protection, everyone knows that, but it's not about that. It's about protecting your clients, isn't it? Sometimes when they say no, it just pickles me, to be honest with you. I don't know why they don't have it.
No, it's like I think you're absolutely right. It's not about the commission. With things like that, it is about the protecting the client. You see it firsthand what can happen. As you go through your mortgage broker career, you'll sort of see more and more people that A, are not protected, but B, then do claim, and you sort of see the people with that put the claims in, and that's the sort of experience of, that's the real good side of things, where you'll see clients, which is the real negative of somebody have to claim on the life or the critical illness. And obviously that's a real negative, but that out of that worst possible moment, there is something to get hope about, because they're going to get some income or a lump sum or something like that to help them deal with that situation. And when they've not got that, and it is like you say, because you see that happening, and we all see firsthand that can happen. When people don't buy into it and don't believe it, because they think it's not a sales thing. You don't sell protection. It's about advice and recommendation. It's not something they sell. If anybody says to me, I sell protection, no, you don't. If you sell protection, it's the wrong way. You're not doing it right. It's about understanding what the client shortfalls are, explain to them what can happen, talking about the budget, talking about what they want to spend, and making sure they've got the best possible cover for what they're wanting to spend and what their budget is based on what the shortfalls and the needs are. And it's like I say, because you get both sides of it. You'll get the good side out of the negative, which is when they need a claim and they get the payout. And I've had those life-changing conversations for those people. And
Yeah.
then you get the total opposite of you get those calls or
Uh,
and when they've got no protection whatsoever. And then you said like Jonathan Needham, a good friend of mine, was on the podcast like a few weeks ago, and he talked about that where a client came back to him that wasn't covered, and it was the worst feeling in his stomach that he's ever had. And because he had that feeling, he already was sort of made sure he sort of went into the real detail and explained to the customer what's the worst can happen. But then he made sure even more of it, given the fact that he'd experienced it firsthand of what's the worst can happen. Do you know what I mean? So I think
yeah.
I think you're right. It's not a sales, and you do take
No.
it personally. You're going to take it personally
Yeah.
because that's what you do, and because
I think
you're part of the client.
with Jonathan, I think he was working nationwide. He was only 24, wasn't he? Was he?
Absolutely, yeah.
He was. I'm not sure how old he is now, but I remember on your podcast he mentioned you were the same generation. So I'm assuming that when he was 24, he had this awful phone call, and I think he mentioned, if I remember, I don't know where this is coming from, Craig. I remembered everything. I think he remembered the noise the lady made down the phone
Yeah,
when she realised that she didn't have protection. He'll never forget that noise,
yeah.
and that resonated not with me, but it resonated with my mindset. You know, I don't want to have that lady making noises down the phone to me. That's why protection is so important. And it comes back to what you said, but it also comes back to the first thing we talked about earlier, was being interested in people. If you're interested in people, then you get to know their needs, their priorities, how much they can spend, and you get to protect them. But like I said, if you can't protect them, it does get, if they don't want protection, you've done everything you possibly can. It does get, that gets to me a little bit as well, yeah.
Brilliant, Lee. Anything else we've not talked about? Anything else we've missed off?
Honestly, Craig, I think we've covered absolutely everything, and I thank you for making it so easy for me to speak to you. It's really been enjoyable. It's been brilliant. So thank you very much for having me.
No, but Lee, I appreciate you. Like you've come across, you like giving your honesty. There's no hidden agenda with you. I can sort of see you very much your heart and sleeve, which I am. Like there's no hidden agenda with me. It's about you love what you're doing. You've sort of chosen what you've done with sort of with your long-term career in mind. You've got the client's heart, the best interests at heart, which is always important doing that. And I'm no doubt you will sort of make a success of you and what you're doing and where you want to go. Because your attitude, your behaviours, and all the rest of it is, and your persistency has all been amazing. So, are you an experienced mortgage advisor who is looking to go alone and set up your own firm? Is owning your own brand and business important to you? Do you keep putting off the decision because you just don't know where to start? Let me explain the My Brand, My Way program. This is aimed at experienced advisors who are looking to go alone and set up your own brand and business. So what does the My Brand, My Way program offer? First of all, you still receive the rates you would as if you went direct to a network. These also improve as you grow. You pay a monthly fee which includes the compliance, indemnity, CRM and all your licenses. You would still own your own brand, your own clients and your own business. You are still creating your own legacy. The difference is you get my help, support and coaching in not only setting up your business and brand, I will help you grow. If that is something of interest to you, please get in touch so we can arrange an informal discussion.